A lot of folks find cause to complain about the snow. It slows things down, makes it hard to get around, and so forth. Why not turn those heaven-sent lemons into lemonade? Put part of the power bill on Old Man Winter's tab. If he's willing to keep those tall blondes cold, the least you can do is drink 'em. That's the light way to live, the high life.
The only thing I know about years and years ago when I sat on the porch and talked with my grandfather, he would talk about I've heard of the goat man.
This is something that is obvious. Shotgun shells. Obviously, the goat man has been around. Obviously, someone's been trying to protect themselves. A 12-gauge shotgun shell. Goat man! Don't know where anybody is. I'm lost. Everybody's gone. Everybody's gone. Point to Ponder being brought to you by the fine taste of Miller High Life. Have you ever wondered when you scratch your ass in that certain spot, it's a lot better than eating ice cream on a very hot day? Miller High Life. The champagne of beers. Alright, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take a pause in the action. We're going to go out and try to find there's a cemetery on top, allegedly, before they actually break this thing. It was so weak that bodies actually fell from the cemetery into the train tunnel. And a lot of these body fluids and things, they had pine boxes, of course, back in those days. And as those bodies would decompose, all that stuff would kind of leak out, and it would just stink this place.
God damn it!
another episode of Rogan Radio live from the friendly confines here at Studio A on the luxurious campus of Casa La Rogan number 4 here in West by Virginia. How's everybody doing this evening?
Not too bad.
Well.
Pretty nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
We're well, Chucky.
You know, like when it reminds me of the good old days when I say you and Jimmy like sing to each other like you're like Belle Biv
Like
DeVoe
Captain and
or
Tennille?
New Kids on the Block.
Because we sound
Sonny
just
and
like
Cher. Sonny and Cher. Who
Millie
else?
Vanilli.
Millie and
Millie
Vanilli.
Vanilli. Millie
Probably closer.
Actually, it'd be Vanilla and Vanilli. Vanilli and Vanilli.
Vanilli and Manilli. We lip sync everything, Chucky.
Yeah, you do a lot of lip service, that's for sure, buddy.
My mommy says hi.
Hello, Sandy, up in Ohio or
Up
over in Ohio?
Yeah, over in Ohio. To the left.
Sometimes that's where it is. Anyway, we have some great things to talk about.
Most
But,
of the time it's to the right.
but
go
first,
ahead.
we want to go ahead and give some thoughts and prayers out tonight without getting into detail with to the Brown and Hall family. So we're going to go ahead and just do that.
Most definitely.
So that hopefully everything works out perfectly there, as best as it can be, anyhow.
So we may all be here right now, but, hopefully we'll be here all night. No phone calls. Only good phone calls.
Right.
Yes.
But
only good phone calls.
now we're going to pick up the pace a little bit.
Put that music
Last
back on.
week-
Put that music back on.
All right.
Hand him over me. Can you pack it over me?
Listen,
You need,
listen.
Yeah,
listen,
you
you need
sound-
the
you
music
hold-
to make you sound
Yeah,
better.
you sound better without the music.
I have a deviated septum.
Listen.
That's the name of my, that's the name of my band.
Yeah, what?
Deviated
The
septum.
deviated
what?
septums. Oh, my
Oh,
goodness. That is ridiculous. Anyway, tonight, some of the things we're going to talk about. Last week, we were very controversial in the fact of we had some really off-color jokes. I mean, they were basically pretty filthy, and I loved it.
My wife said you.
How'd
guys
the
were-
ratings
She
turn
said
out
you
for
were
that, by
being.
the
They were great. It was one of the best shows.
Oh,
ever.
yeah.
Honestly.
I think that was just because me and Derek started watch parties, and then we had 1 million people logging on and immediately logging off like, oh my God,
Which
I got kids in the room.
I really don't know what these log party or these watch party things are. I just hit one, too, and I have no idea what it is.
Did
Still haven't figured
Did one
it
of you guys
out.
do that
Yeah.
tonight? One of you guys?
Yeah, I hit one, too. There's Dave Teatrick. Hello, Dave.
I don't
Hello,
even-
Bob
I
Ash.
don't even know
What's
where
up,
you
Brian
find
Boyles?
it. Jessica
Yeah.
McClanahan.
Hey, Brian, that's no
Hey,
joke.
Jessica.
That is the theme for the Breathless Resort. That's where ever since we went to Cancun, that's where I started listening to this stuff, and it's fantastic.
Now, with the watch parties, you'll get comments on yours, too, and sometimes they're on ours, sometimes they're just on yours, which is weird.
I don't know how that works, man.
Hey,
Yeah,
listen.
see, like, I don't see that.
I don't see
Jessica
any of it.
McClanahan's on.
McClanahan.
Listen,
Sam,
Jessica
what's up, Sam
McClanahan. Jessica McClanahan. She's dirty. Wasn't that Dirty Harry's daughter out there in
That
San
was
Francisco?
You start, you're like, isn't she
McClanahan.
Dirty-
Dirty Harry
What
McClanahan.
was it?
McCallahan.
McCallahan.
Oh, that's close. Oh, that's close.
Not to
Hello,
be mistaken
Jessica.
with McLean.
She's down there in South Carolina.
She is not dirty and hairy.
Dirty
Wow.
Harry McCallahan.
To some of the things we're going to talk about other than the tasteless jokes, we're going to instead do this week knock jokes. And I love to knock them up.
They're a lot cleaner, Chuck.
Yeah, they are.
We're talking about jokes, not. Well,
jokes.
they
Knock,
could
knock
be.
jokes. Well, yeah, we haven't read them all, so we'll pick the.
The
dirtiest,
Pope's down in
nastiest.
Panama said something about technology and how with phones now everybody's so connected it makes you almost like a recluse, and you know there's a lot of stuff. It makes you be lazy, and I mean it kind of keeps you antisocial. It's funny because the day before that I read a story about Steve Jobs. And the article went on to say Steve Jobs did not want, and he purposely didn't let his kids have iPhones or iPads, but he did not want the iPhone to turn out to be what it is now. When the iPhone first came out, the App Store and all that, it wasn't there. It was basically, he called it an iPod that you can call and text on, all right? Yeah. Now it's turned into this iPhone that consumes everybody, and he did not want that. But, you know, business models go, and if you're going to make money, then you can forget about everybody else's problems.
Right.
But we're going to talk about some of the things tonight that aren't around anymore. No, not necessarily because of cell phones, but it could be something like the Bedazzler. It could be something like the Floby. What are some things that I want to know about? We'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah,
some
to
of the
give
things
people
that you
time to
used to
think.
see. Yeah,
Clackers.
that used to be so standard. Like you used to be able to go.
Payphones.
Or just go down, like say if you wanted to watch a movie.
Your
okay?
virginity.
Say if you wanted to watch a movie and you went downtown
Blockbuster.
and you'd go to a Blockbuster or you'd rent a VHS tape. Yeah. And a lot of times when you first started doing it, you had to rent the machine too because they were so expensive.
We never did that.
So you know what? That's something you just don't see anymore. You don't even think about it because you stream it offline.
What about the
If you
televisions
have
where you
internet.
had two different turn knobs.
Yeah, you had
on
the
it.
VHF and UHF on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you still had to dial the outside of the switch
To tune it?
so that it
Yeah.
would tune in.
Yeah.
The fine tune.
Oh yeah.
That's
Remember
something
when
that
we
you
first
don't
got
see
cable? We
anymore.
had like a long. It was wire. It wasn't wireless. So you had
Yeah.
a long cable across the living room floor.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
you put,
yeah,
that you
no
put
kidding,
15 rugs over so,
Yeah.
you, wouldn't, so you wouldn't break your neck.
So it's like the heyday of years past. Now, Todd, you went to go
What about
see.
the old satellite dishes?
Oh, those things were
My
monsters.
father-in-law had one on the back of his house, Darren. Was as wide as this building.
And a lot of people just left them up. You'll see them in a lot of places.
Oh yeah,
they're just
they're
rusting
still
away.
there.
Yeah, it was ginormous. But he was the first one in Lumberport that had one, probably.
I've seen a lot of people
Especially-
turn that into the fishing pond.
Yeah. Well, they really have though. They really have
put a
turned those-
liner on
That's
it.
something
Yeah.
that's been
recycling.
repurposed into so much,
Yeah,
so
we're
many
going
things.
green. You
Yeah.
could, listen, there's a guy down in
Gazebo
Webster.
tops. I mean,
Listen, made
everything.
it's use it for an umbrella on a table. You turn it
Yeah.
up, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I was like, wow, that's actually pretty.
It could be like
pretty neat.
it could be a giant walk. Bruce.
Oh, waka waka.
Listen,
That's so racist.
Giant walk. They're shaped like
WOK, Bruce. He's trying to be
Is
a
that
fancy
not- he's
pants.
discriminating.
You gotta learn to speak English first. I mean,
Learn to speak English before you start
Ooh.
worrying about
Am I not saying
Japanese,
that right?
buddy.
yeah.
Just like a giant
What's
walk.
up, David D?
David D.
We're also going to talk about things that make kind of embarrass you. And then I had this happen just the other day. And I see there's a truck around town that looks just like Todd's. All right?
Yeah.
To the point to where every time I see this guy drive by,
You go like this.
I drive by or I swerve in the road or something. And it's never
Oh,
Todd.
I've done that.
It's never Todd. You know what I mean? It's never Todd. So we want to talk
See,
about some
those
of
of
the
us
stuff like that.
responsible drivers on the road. Yeah. Don't just automatically swerve into oncoming
Oh
traffic.
no! Oh no!
Well, it's for somebody you know.
I've
I mean,
swerved clear in that lane. It was coming straight at
Yeah.
people, man. I thought, then I get up there, I'm like, ah!
it's kind of funny, isn't it? The stupid shit that you do like that.
The best has got to be when you beep and wave, and then they wave back, and you go, "Oh, it wasn't even them."
Thank you for being so polite.
Or it's like one of those things. Have you ever seen, say, if you're at work or you're at a store and you don't, well, we'll say at a store, and you have no idea, but you see somebody looking right at you, and they're talking to you. Except they're not talking to you. It looks like they're talking to you.
Yeah,
they're
that's
talking
gotta
to
be
somebody
weird.
behind
And you're like, "Hey," and then they go walk by, and you're like,
and you're like, hey, what's going on? That happened to me down at Gomart probably about 6 months ago. Okay, so I'm walking out of Gomart, and this chick is like 3 pumps over, like the third row of pumps over there, and she looks and she starts talking. Well, I start talking back to her like she's talking to me, except she was talking to Melvin, who was working inside because he came right up behind me. I didn't know that.
That's
So-
a classic night at the Roxbury move.
Well, here's the thing. Chuck Rogan has this theory, and it goes like this. Never act like, you're in the wrong. Always act like you're supposed to be where you are. Just act like
Oh,
it. Even
yeah.
if you don't, even if you have no idea.
People ask a lot less questions.
So
that way.
she goes, well, I was talking to Melvin behind you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I just wanted to talk to you. I said, well, what kind of gasoline you? I made something up just so I wouldn't look stupid. You know what I mean? Just so I wouldn't look stupid.
"Well, I mean,
I mean, you already look stupid. I mean,
You're not very funny when you say that stuff.
Chuck. He didn't mean that.
You're
He
not
didn't
very
mean
funny
it,
when
bro.
you say that.
Dude, he
All right,
didn't
tell
mean
me
it.
who's on there. Who's on there with us?
We got. We said James Murphy joined us.
Whoa,
Chuck.
James.
Parker Fulton.
David
What's up,
D,
Jim?
Tim Carpenter.
Mike Salerno, how you doing, baby?
Vicky Beck,
Oh, she's cute, man. She
Sam
is
Burrows.
cute.
Pam Kirby,
Beverly
Pam.
Quinn joined on here. We said Mary Jo Elder. Did we say Mary Jo Elder? Mary Jo Elder's on
Hello,
here.
Mary Jo.
Carol Miller.
Cassie Allen.
The beautiful Carol Miller.
Becky Wade.
Hello, Becky.
Cassie Allen jumped on here, too. Did we say
Is
that?
my mic working? Because I just said
Did
that.
you
right?
say
Yeah,
Cassie
listen,
Allen?
he never does.
Jay
He never
McCord.
does.
Everybody say Jay McCord.
Hello, Jay.
Jay McCord jumped on here. Some bitches.
Dang.
Rogan Radio's on here. Clay Clark's on here.
What's up, Clay?
Mike Matovich is on here.
Pam Kirby's on here, Chuck.
Is my mic working? Are you sure my mic was working?
He just doesn't listen.
Jimmy Wiz on here.
You have to remember he's deaf in one ear.
What?
You ever hear about the quirk on
Jimmy
here?
Wiz is on here.
Hear about the quirk on here?
What? Hey, Mike Matovich's on here.
What's up, Mad Dog?
Almost said what?
What?
So here's the question.
Hey, Parker Fulton joined. When are we going to get Parker Fulton in the studio?
Every time you say that, I think of that show. Remember that old show, Parker Lewis Can't Lose? You remember that?
No.
Don't you remember
Parker
that?
Lewis can't lose.
Yeah.
Who's
It
Parker
just
Lewis?
shows how much of a nerd he was.
Who's Parker Lewis? Is he
I don't
a
know.
boxer?
It was a TV show that was on.
I remember.
And every time you say that, I think of that.
I remember Parker Fulton's.
I think it was Parker Lewis. Yeah,
What about Parker Fulton's what? What do you remember about him? Was it like something where he slipped to some ecstasy or something? You don't remember or what?
Yeah, no, I was trying to make a joke, but I couldn't remember part
yeah.
B.
It wasn't a knock-knock joke. Written down for you, so.
Not yet. It won't be.
Well, now that the government's going to be opened up back starting tomorrow
3 weeks.
For 3 weeks. Now, don't get too excited because it's only going to be for 3 weeks. Here's what I'm going to miss.
If
Nick's on here.
Putin allows it.
yeah. Have you noticed this? Because Facebook drives me absolutely mad. It drives me mad because all of a sudden, anytime there's any kind of a catastrophe, be it social, political, whatever it might be, everybody turns into these PhDs in whatever field that they're talking
I got
about.
a PhD, Chuck. Player hating degree. No.
But you know, one thing I'm going to miss, and I've went for 48 years of my life, and I have never seen so many people start using these acronyms. Like for the President of the United States, now they're cool when they have caps that say POTUS. And I'm like, you don't even know what that is.
It's
or
been around
State of the
forever.
Union.
They just
you know what I mean?
started.
They need
MAGA, that Magna, is that Magna?
SOTU.
MAGA.
And it takes me like
Make America great again.
yeah, and it's like SOTU, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Oh, State of the Union. Ah, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
Or
SOB.
Supreme Court of the United
That's
States, SCOTUS, all this
about
stuff.
The laziness of America.
Well, they think they're cool. And that's what I mean. It's like, why don't you just say Supreme Court? Why don't you say
Yeah.
President? I mean, you don't have to go through this POTUS and scrotum and all this other kind of stuff right on there, all this other kind of junk. I mean, come on, man. And I'm gonna actually have I think I'm gonna have
the whole
perhaps withdrawals. I might actually have withdrawals once all this stuff resolves itself because I get so caught up in reading these comments, and I know when
I
somebody
don't even look at it, man.
Listen, I love it.
It irritates the shit.
like
out of
when
me.
Ouija, he from
Ouija board?
Ouija, the senator that quit and he ran for president and he was
Oh,
president.
Jetta, baby.
Yeah, that guy.
Ouija.
Yeah, that dude.
You got that right the first time.
Yeah. That dude. So all of a sudden, I'm not
He
good with
suspended
names.
his.
Yeah, you know. Okay. So one thing that I do though, I love reading the
Archie
comments.
Now he's unemployed.
I read the
Not for long,
comments.
because he'll be president in 2020.
I read the comments of that stuff because I know he's going to get it. Just like I don't understand on Facebook, going back to that for a second, do you ever see like say Sprint advertises something or BW3 advertises something or somebody has a sponsored link, this ad, and it's got like 2,000 comments because I don't know why these companies put themselves out there like this. Because you go through the comments and they get
brutal.
slammed.
Brutal.
BW3 has one now where it's $5 they say pitchers of beer or something like that on like on Thursday or
Friday
whatever.
to Sunday.
Okay, whatever it
Yeah.
is. And it turns out these things are about this big. They just look like pitchers, you know? But you get on there and everybody's talking about, well, you know what? I hope the beer doesn't give me the runs like those wings. And, all kinds of crazy stuff on there. I mean, they go crazy on there. There was one about Best Buy not too long ago, and everybody's. I said, so you know what? I understand that most people don't read the comments like that because I know to. I mean, it just makes me happy to read them.
That's the best part of it.
Yeah. And just like when it came to Ouija, when he did his stuff, it was on Metro News. On Metro News, the story was, and it had like 76 comments or something. I was like, this is going to be good because it's going to be like a roast. It's going to be like Dean Martin roast on Ojeda. Which I'd like to get him in the studio. Maybe D-Mac. He's working on some political stuff. He's down there now. He's going to get some stuff
Is he
worked out
down there
for
in
us.
Charleston?
I'll tell you something too.
He's going to get some like high level. Oh no,
brutal, man.
People are funny. You go on YouTube, comments are very funny, and I know that because of my own comments that I get on there. That's pretty nuts.
I'd never read the comments.
But anyway, let me ask you this:
Just throwing that out there.
Do it. Ask us.
went to Sam's the other day, and I hate to be this guy. I really hate to be this
Don't
guy.
Be that guy.
But I think I'm actually pretty normal. So first of all, I'm walking to Sam's because all I want are those like
Have you
Chick-fil-A.
seen the group you run with?
Yeah, I know, right? So I'm
Let me
walking.
show you real quick. Go ahead.
So I'm walking in there, and I'm just going in there for the sole purpose of getting a bag of those Chick-fil-A nugget things.
Those members, Mark, they're fantastic.
They're absolutely. If you haven't got those yet, go to Sam's.
People
and get
say they
those.
don't, but I'm telling you, they taste.
What
They
is it
again? I
taste like
missed it.
Chick-fil-A. chicken
Chad doesn't like them because he
don't
can't
like
eat peanut oil. They're Chick-fil-A, those Members Mark or whatever they are. They're nuggets. It's not Members Mark. It's like
it's absolutely members, Mark.
Is it okay?
Yeah,
Well,
they
they're
got
like
red and
country
white
nuggets or
bag, red
something.
and white
Right,
bag.
right.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
And it tastes just like Chick-fil-A, except it's like $9 for 3 pounds. You know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
they're
that.
awesome. But anyway, here's my problem, and I've talked about this at nauseum before. So I'm walking into the store, and the first thing I see are little girls out there for fundraisers. I'm like, it's just
that
stinking
guy.
great. Yeah, that's the first thing.
I'm that guy too.
So then I'm like, well, good thing I don't carry cash. Good thing I don't carry cash because I can't give you anything, and I don't feel bad about it at that point.
It doesn't matter because at that point I don't carry cash.
Well, here's
I don't care if I got $500.
Well, now here's the problem because they've got smart the guys like me. Because now I said, oh, I'm sorry, they're going. I don't know what they were doing, but building baby doll houses, or I have no idea what was going on. I just wanted to go in there and get a bag of my nuggets and get the hell out of there. That's all I wanted to do. So I go in and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just all debit cards." And she goes, "Oh, hold on for a minute." At which point, the iPad with a little swipe thing comes out.
The e-readers say, "I just came in to beg for chicken nuggets. I don't even have debit card."
I'm going to work. And I was like, "Oh, well, what do I say now? What do I say now?" So I got Michelle's debit card out of my wallet. And I swiped that thing and gave her $100.
Just say, I'm on the government shutdown.
Yeah, government shutdown would have been good. So you should be giving me money, chick.
Yeah, go buy me a bag of chicken nuggets.
But this was the best thing, and Sam's or any kind of place. I just happened to be at Sam's, and I noticed I did this. So I had my bag of chicken nuggets, and then so I'm walking out, and you kind of funnel out. Any exit that kind of funnels into itself. Except I'm seeing like almost like freaks ahead of me. They're just the shopping cart with like 800 things in it, and I know
that was me.
Yeah, and you know what? And somebody's going to sit there, and they're actually going to sit there, and they're going to look at all this stuff. It's all. But what I try to do, and this is my thing, I try
to write out a check.
Now listen. Well, here's the thing.
Outrun them, don't you?
I try to outrun them. Yeah. Do you ever get into the exit races to where you see somebody and you're just like, okay, there's a point to where you have to stop so you're not rude and you're just like bumping each other on the interstate. But when I try to get there, I'm like, listen, I got to get in front of these assholes, and there might be 14 people, it might be somebody on a cane I have to knock over, but I'm going to get in front of them so I can get out of there.
Listen, here's what you do with the kids that are out front, right? When you walk out of Sam's, you don't go out that door. You hang a right like you're going over toward the tire center.
That's what I did.
You can bypass them and then swing around.
No, listen, that's what I did on going out when leaving. After I raced everybody to get out, because there were like 4 or 5 people. Yeah. It must have been Free Sam's Day or something. It must have been Free Sam's Day. Yeah. It's like Christmas. Listen to that. That's my phone going on.
I put mine on mute. Jimmy, did you put yours on mute?
Well, I can't put mine on mute. I can't put mine on mute. I'm on call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So anyhow, so that's what I did when I left. I just took that right like I was walking over to Kroger's. Yeah. But I have a secret for you. When you walk in and you see the fundraisers, and nothing against that, I get it. I mean, if you want to join all this stuff and your parents don't want to pay for it, I get all that. Let us pay it for you.
Hey, you should know how that is right now, Chuck.
Exactly.
All the shit you got to pay for now.
But here's what I do. Here's a little secret. Unless you can't do it, I always wait for somebody else to walk. Like I'll sit there and I'll be fumbling with
while they're doing it. You walk by them.
No. And then when they start walking, I act like I'm walking with them. So I let them tell them no, and then I just. It's like I'm with them. I'm with them.
You're like a pro con.
That's my dad. That's my dad.
I hate when you go to those when you're getting towards the exit. You got one thing in there to look at, and there's a good person because they'll usually look and they'll go, "Oh, you got one. Go ahead." Yeah. But then I hate those people that, like Chuck said, they got the 800 things and they see you and they still go.
How much loss prevent? How much stuff do you think people actually? Would never have the balls to do it. But when you got 800 things in your buggy, those girls they don't sit there and look at everything in your
some of them
buggy.
do. There are ones that just go like this and they go.
Yeah,
no,
I work at Sam's here.
They
you know what I mean?
They're paying
there's ones that are like,
1, 2, 3, toilet. Okay, you got that. Okay,
I'll tell you,
chicken nugget. No.
The trick to that is what they do, and I've caught them doing this. That they'll see the number of items you have, and count the number. If you're under, now listen, this is probably going to be bad here, but if you're under 20 items, you're good.
Yeah,
they got you. But if you're over 20,
they're like,
oh, you can walk out with a TV and they never know it.
Yeah,
I've seen videos where people actually do that too. By the way,
yeah, but that's down in hurricane season.
That's awful.
And,
hey, over on the watch party, want to say hello to Holly. Want to say hello to Ken Hoffman, all the way down in Key West. Must be nice to be in Key West right now. Steve Merritt. How about Tammy over in Clarksburg? Hello.
How about Brent Godfrey, Chuck?
Hello, Brent.
Hey, my brother jumped on here.
Jesse, we talked about Jesse last week.
The better twin.
We talked about him last week in my dream.
Oh, yeah, in your dream.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, Kenneth Royce. Is that the same
Kenny Royce? Hello, Kenny Royce.
Is that our Kenny Royce?
That would be it. Yep.
Oh, no kidding.
Want to thank some of the cities. We're going to do this every week. New York, Santa Rosa, California, Amarillo, Texas. Amarillo by morning. That's the way to go.
Amarillo by morning.
Over in Switzerland. I just wish I knew how to say these Swiss words. It's like Datacon or something like that. Datacon? Is that how you say that?
You can't say Datacon.
Sounds like I can't. I don't know how to
sound.
But anyway, thanks for listening.
Charades.
Thanks for listening. Las Vegas, San Jose, Henderson, Forest, Virginia, London, England. Give me some.
All right, thank you all for listening from London, England.
Yeah, Westminster, Maryland.
Thank you. Westminster, Maryland.
The people in London they probably go, That's terrible. He's making fun of us because his accent sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
I don't know what you're talking about. No accent, spot on.
Well, thank you guys once again for listening. Tomorrow, the audio version comes out. That comes out on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere you can do it. And it's relatively easy. If you have an iPhone, you're going to see a little podcast little app. Hit the little button, come up, type in Rogan Radio, bang. It'll come right up there. You can subscribe
or
to
an
us.
Android, you can find it on Stitcher.
Bang. Well, Android, you can just use Google Play,
Yeah.
Play Music, and you can go there, go under podcast or whatever,
in
search it,
Rogan
and you'll
Radio.
see it come right up.
Go
And
to
you-
YouTube.
Bang.
Go to YouTube if you want to watch this again.
Worldwide.
Bang.
Bang! What the hell you
Boom.
Boom!
What are you saying?
But anyway, go ahead and do
You
that.
saying bang?
You know where it's coming from.
What's up, Jerry Ashby?
There's Step Brothers. He
Yeah,
said that when
love
he
that
goes,
movie,
"Pow!"
man.
He's like, what are you saying, pal?
What are you saying? Pow?
I love
Why is
those.
he doing that?
When you get those two together, that Will Ferrell, who's it?
Oh,
John
my
C.
God.
Riley.
Yeah.
Them
God,
two,
they're funny.
man.
But listen, I'll tell you what. A movie review. I went and watched that. You guys see that? Was it Holmes and Watson? I think.
I haven't seen
I
it.
haven't seen it yet.
Listen, I tell you what, I saw
I
saw Johnny Holmes with somebody. It was back in probably like 83 for something like that.
I went and seen it. I went and seen it. And I tell
We
you
just
what,
watch Bird Box last night, man.
Still haven't watched.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
It's good,
I really
isn't it?
did. Yeah, yeah.
Well, tell me about-
Cindy
Hol-
even liked it.
Holmes. That it wasn't. That was not that good.
Holmes and
Was
Watson.
it really?
No. And when I went because I knew them two together,
Yeah,
it's like gold.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Talladega Nights and
Yeah.
Step Up. But you know what? This one, all the funny stuff was in the trailers, and that always disappoints me.
Yeah.
Oh, that irritates
But
me.
when
when they
it
do
just
that.
was not, it did not. And that was what. And I did a thing. I just popped my own cherry. I have.
Somebody's been making pies at home.
Listen, I've never been to the movies. I've never. Is there anybody here that
You've
has
never been to the movies?
by yourself?
Yeah. I
Oh,
just
yeah,
went
yeah.
last night.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never.
No
48
worries
years
about
old.
that.
I've never went to the movies by myself.
You're scared in the dark.
Because Haley went
See,
with
it's
her.
only creepy when you go to a kids movie. by
Yeah,
yourself.
okay,
Yeah, well, and that's the whole thing. Like Haley went with her boyfriend to this. It was like some little boy concert show or something. I was like, I'm not going to go in there by myself. I'm going to look like some creeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I went to a movie by myself and waited for them.
I've never been to a movie theater. In there, sat down by myself. It was really nice.
It's kind of neat. See, I
But the
only,
movie was not good.
I've
It's
only
not
did
as
that.
bad as it seems.
I only did that one time. I went over and saw.
here
Went down to
comes.
Harry Green's and got one of those like Econo vans.
Here it comes.
Then I stopped over at Dollar General and got a big bag of candy. So then I went up to the mall when it was the mall was like where Marshalls, the theater used to be where Marshalls
Yeah,
was
yeah.
right
Like
there.
a
You know what I'm talking about?
panel van, no windows.
And the Lion King was on. So I went on the Lion King, and then I waited for everybody to come out, and then I started playing on the big sound system that was in that thing. It was like an audio box or something. Started playing like that, ice cream music, and everybody was kind of inquisitive. I said, "Here, you guys want some candy?"
Hey, listen, that brings me back to the things that you don't see anymore. You don't see ice cream trucks.
No, I see ice cream trucks all the time, actually.
Where?
I used to see them in Clarksburg on my route.
You see one in
we went
Glen
camping
Elk.
last year. There was
Very-
one. There was
listen.
one came around the campground.
Listen, okay, it's rare.
Yeah, it would be rare.
When I was a kid, there was always in the summertime. You always heard that music when you were a kid, and we were and we were when my youngest was little. We were out in Ohio, and we heard one, and I got so freaking excited. And I grabbed that kid, and we grabbed some money. We went out and we got ice cream from the ice cream truck.
Did you have to ask Vicky for the money?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's why you don't have any to give to the fundraisers.
Hey, you
But
know what
listen, it was
that ice
great.
cream truck sound. You know what that reminds me of?
Find the ice cream sounds, Jim.
It's that video game. What was it called? Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
They had that. They
Yeah,
had
it
the
could
ice
have
cream
been.
truck
Yeah,
on
yeah.
there.
it actually
Demolition
probably
Derby
was.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
But you don't
You
see
hear that music on there with all.
you really don't see ice cream trucks anymore. It's a shame.
You see once in a while in Clarksburg.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
They
They-
run
and
in
they live-
Clarksburg.
They live over there on 8th Street.
We had two of them.
not
We
that
had,
far.
in Glen Elk.
Not
Yeah.
none of
we had two of them in Pittsburgh. Of course, we had the good humor truck came by, and then we had one that was. Don't confuse it with Chuck. It was Mr. Softy.
Ah, Mr. Soft.
I'm not sure I would buy anything from Mr. Softy because I don't think I'd be getting my money's worth.
See, I like the blue ice cream.
Is that when you get like one of those little popsicles with the red, white, and blue thing, like the Star Pops, and
I
just
love
go
those.
Boom pops.
you just get the stick?
Very patriotic, Chuck. Boom pops.
Boom.
All right, last week we went ahead and talked about some very off-color jokes. This week we're not going to do that. This week we're going to do knock-knock jokes. Feel free to use these tomorrow when you're around the water cooler or whatnot. Here's how we're going to do this. Whoever's going to read it, pick somebody.
Like I'll pick Jimmy, for instance.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's try one real quick.
Sounds
Ron.
good.
Let's try one real quick so we know how to do it. All right, Jimmy. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
King Tut.
King Tut who?
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Waka waka waka.
Hey, Chad.
No.
Knock.
What?
Chad, this is for you. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Tank.
Tank who?
You're welcome. We go from last week to talk about vaginas and everything else to being like so cheesy it hurts. All right.
Hey, D.
Hey,
Knock, knock.
who's there?
Normally.
Normally who?
Normally, I have my key. Can you let me in?
Oh, no. Whoa, wait a minute. Now, let me ask you a question.
No.
Why would you be, where would you even be at to where you would need a key to get in? Or you were, because you had a key and you forgot? Inquiring minds want to know that.
See, we can't tell you that.
Hey, Darren.
Hey,
Knock, knock.
who's there?
Yeah.
Yahoo.
No thanks. I'm more of a Google person.
Okay.
Go ahead. Somebody do one.
That was weird.
Hey, Brucey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Barbie.
Bobby who?
Barbecue chicken.
Oh,
Hey,
no, this
Chad.
one's for.
Hey, Chad.
Okay.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Or who?
Orange, you glad to see me?
Not really, but you know.
Hey, Chucky, this is for you, right?
All right.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I have toop. I have toop.
You have toop what?
I have to poo. Well, then go to the bathroom.
What in the world?
Hey, Todd. Knock, knock.
Oh, now who's there, Jim?
Cash.
Cash who?
I knew you were in that.
I didn't get it.
Hey, Chuck.
Yeah, man.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Dewey.
Dewey who?
Do we have to knock again?
Ooh, hey, listen, I'm always for knocking boots.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
This is stupid, Chuck.
This is stupid, Chuck.
These
Who?
are funny.
This is stupid Chuck. This is stupid Chuck who?
All right, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Donut.
Donut who?
Don't ask. It's a secret.
All right, listen, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Pick last week's. We're gonna do 5.
No, we can't.
We're gonna-
Because we
Yeah.
did most of the clean ones. The rest of them were like really bad, dude.
Are they really?
I'm gonna
bad?
lose like
last
good Christian wholesome friends on here.
Sorry, we got to do it. Hey, here's
No,
some
that's what Steve said. He'd rather hear the dirty raunchy stuff.
here's some blonde jokes.
Hello, Brian Bland.
Oh, we got some blonde jokes. Why don't we do blonde jokes?
Blonde jokes. Let's
Scroll
do
all the
them.
way back up. Here's one for you, Chuck. How are blondes like peanut butter?
How are blondes like peanut butter?
Ah, they spread for the bread, baby.
Oh,
Start out with a good one. These are blonde jokes. I love
Where
the
do you
blonde
see
jokes.
those, dude?
If you scroll all the way up, then you'll see where it says.
The knock knock ones?
Yeah, scroll all the way up to the top of the page, and you'll see it says we have over 150 categories of jokes on our main page. Click that, and then go to scroll down to blonde.
So it's a 30-step process.
yeah.
right.
Yeah, thank you. So we
Hey, what, Chuck? What's 5 miles long and has an IQ of 40?
what?
A blonde parade.
Dang!
All right. What do you do when a blonde throws a hand grenade at you?
What?
Pull the pin and throw it back.
Oh! See, these aren't dirty. These are great. My wife's a blonde. I got to be careful. Okay, let's find another one.
Hey, to a blonde, what is long and hard?
To a blonde, what is long and hard?
Grade 4.
Oh my, the 4th grade?
Why did the
Listen.
blonde stare at the frozen orange juice can for 2 hours?
No idea.
Because it said concentrate.
Hey, Jimmy, why do blondes get confused in the ladies' room?
Why?
Because they have to pull their own pants down.
Why did the blonde keep doing backstrokes?
Why, Chuck?
Because she just had lunch and didn't want to swim on a full stomach.
Hey, did you hear about the blonde that tried to blow up her husband's car?
Nope.
She burned her lips on the tailpipe.
Scroll up.
Ooh, that's funny. Chuck, why
The other way.
what do you call a blonde between two brunettes, Chuck?
What do you call a blonde between two brunettes?
Yep.
No idea.
A mental block.
Ah.
That one really
Hey,
kind of.
what do you give a blonde that has everything?
I don't have any idea.
Penicillin.
What is the best blonde secretary to have?
I don't know.
One that never misses a period.
Oh.
Probably didn't get that, but I get it.
Why don't blondes double recipes, Chuck?
I don't know.
The oven doesn't go up to 700 degrees.
Wait, listen. What do blondes and dog shit have in common?
I don't know what, Chuck.
The older they get, the easier they are to pick up.
Oh,
Man, we're getting personal now. We gotta
they
quit
really are.
this.
What are the worst 6 years in a blonde's life?
I have no idea.
5th grade.
6 years.
How do you keep a blonde busy?
I don't know.
Please flip over on both sides of a piece of paper.
All right.
These are for all of our blonde listeners out there. The 8%.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna lay off. We're gonna.
How did
lay
the
off.
blonde lawyer sway the judge, Chuck?
I have no
She
idea.
dropped her briefs. Oh, this is a great one because Chuck, you used to be a mailman, right?
Yeah, back in the day I was.
Why did the blonde tattoo her zip code on her thigh?
Why did the blonde
Tattoo her
a zip code onto her thigh? No.
Yeah, she wanted a lot of mail in her box. Yeah.
Hey. Why don't blondes talk while having sex?
Why, Jim?
Because their moms told them never to talk to strangers.
Oh,
That's messed up.
Hey, how do you drown a blonde?
I don't know.
Put a scratch and sniff sticker on the bottom of the pool.
These poor blondes.
Hey, why did the blonde scale the chain link fence?
Why, Chuck?
To see what was on the other side. All right, let's do something else.
Oh, okay. Here's another one. Why can't blondes be cattle ranchers, Jim?
Why?
Because they can't keep their calves together.
Well, Gretchen Gretchen, she's a blonde and she's a boss at work and she
Come
just
on,
fired us all.
Gretchen. Come on.
How do you get a blonde to marry you? This is going to be the last one. How do you get a blonde to marry
A
you?
few more.
How?
Tell her she's pregnant.
Hey, Chuck,
Tell her that she's pregnant because she doesn't know yet.
Chuck, your dog.
Oh, dude.
Oh, your dog.
Why couldn't the blonde dial 911?
Why?
She couldn't find the 11.
Chuck, you're a dog lover, right? You dog
I'm
lover?
a dog lover, man.
Okay, what do you call a blonde with an actual brain?
What do you call a dog or a blonde with an actual brain? No idea.
A golden retriever.
Oh man, I cut the
Hey,
background
how did
music
the
off way
blonde
too
burn her
soon.
nose?
How did she?
Bobbing for French fries.
Oh, nice. That sounds like something that should be in a horror movie.
Yeah, no,
Doesn't it though?
Yeah.
Speaking of horror movies, we last night we watched Sinister for the first time.
Okay, one more. Then I got
And
one more.
then so we watched Sinister 2 this morning. And you know what? That's kind of a weird flick.
What is it?
Sinister?
Oh, yeah.
With the Super 8s,
Yeah.
Super 8 movies, and you know all that. I don't want to tell you too much about it, but if you
Yeah.
like kind of horror kind of movies like that, it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat. Speaking of that, speaking of weird ways to die, one of the weirdest things they knock them out. You'll see when you watch the movie, but they had them tied up laying in the lawn, and then they rained the lawnmowers over their heads because it was kind of weird like that.
That kind of sounds like The Happening. Where you lay down.
Yeah, right.
Oh my!
What's
up, Chris?
Chris is
Hello,
on here?
Polly.
Polly's on here. Polly's on. We haven't seen Mike Odell joined too. Mike Odell.
Speaking of ladies, one of the coolest freaking horror flicks that I like was The Descent. It was like an all-female cast. They went down into these uncharted caves. It's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
What was the
and there
one with the
creatures
shark?
down there?
What was the one with the
Sharknado.
shark? No, where they
Jaws.
were. No, there was
Talking
one.
about Meg.
No. There was one. where-
47 meters down.
Is that what it was? That's the one I'm thinking
What
of.
is
It
it?
was
Meg?
kind of a serious thing, wasn't it? 47 meter where they kind of shipwrecked or something, and they just had a or something like
that was,
that. They had to
Was
survive.
it just a guy and a
I think
girl?
that was 47 meters
47
down.
meters down.
Because then there was that one, The Shallows. The Shallows is where the
Shallows.
one girl was stuck on that.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
boyfriend or something got blown over, knocked over. No, I'm thinking of a different. There's a lot of those movies where they're stuck out in the middle of the ocean,
Something like that.
and there's sharks coming to eat them. I don't know if sharks really eat people.
Hammerheads.
Do they?
Supposedly that's how a lot of the World War II guys.
From hammerheads?
Yeah.
Really?
Like when they went down here.
Oh shit! God, what
I'm
a
reading all
waste
these
of-
blonde jokes, and you know what? I can't do it. I'm going to turn this off. That's what I mean.
So quiet.
Listen, here's what I noticed today, too. I'm an observer. I like to observe things.
you do.
And today it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm thinking I'm still in my bathrobe and stuff because it's overcast and it's cloudy, and it's amazing.
Because you're like you, Hefner.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But it's amazing how seasons kind of affect you. And I'm thinking it's 1 o'clock, and I'm still drinking coffee in a bathrobe and basically pajamas for the most part, and I don't even feel like doing anything.
Yeah, but today was nice and sunny though. Chuck.
Well, not about 1 o'clock it wasn't.
Really?
But so then around, I'm thinking 6 months from now, if that even 4 months from now, really. By the way, Groundhog Day's on Saturday this year, and it's next week.
I remember when you used to go up to
Punxsutawney, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, has anybody been to Puxatawny?
I need
been
to
up
go
up-
there. That's on my bucket
I've been
list.
up there too.
It's kind of neat. But anyway, I was thinking how crazy it is because you start getting into, say, June. At 10 o'clock on a Sunday, I'm drinking beer mowing the lawn. You know what I mean? Because it's nice.
Yeah.
It's just
right
nice.
before you go to church, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
But anyway, I'm thinking, today it's one. It's like it's crazy. Like people that live like on the poles, like you get up into Alaska, maybe Norway, and all that, and you think about 6 months of
you know
darkness.
that live on the pole.
But you understand?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It is kind of
He
weird
had
how
to pay for all this equipment somehow. Jimmy.
Yeah, right.
How would you deal with that though? 6 months of darkness, and then 6 months of light.
I don't-
Would 6 months of light be as hard as 6 months of darkness?
Hey, you just close the blinds.
Yeah, I guess you would.
Go to sleep.
Yeah,
Like,
That
yeah.
6 months
Well,
of
right,
darkness
I
will
mean,
make a man crazy. I guarantee you.
Oh, you
got
would.
to.
It would. I would think
they said
so.
they just go by the clock.
Yeah.
That would be like some of these
30 Days of Night horror films.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's like my wife's cousin. He's still in the Navy, and well, you know him. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But he's on a submarine, so some of them submarines they go into them ice caps. And they're under there for like 3 months at a time or something like that, right? 2 months at a time, and it's just you're inside of a metal box.
That would be nuts.
Long,
To be
hard, full
Yeah.
semen.
a submarine. Mm-hmm. But that would be tough.
Yeah.
The
That's what I
submariner
mean.
like that to be in
Yeah.
there that long.
Yeah.
Because you just can't. Just like when Brucey was, when you fly to Japan, it's what 14, 15 hours.
15 hours.
15 hours. Now imagine this. Imagine being in an airplane stuck for 15 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and you just can't like walk outside and stretch your legs. You just can't do stuff like that. It would drive me bananas for that long into a confined. It'd be like being in a car that long, and I can't do that. I got to get out of the rest stop. You just can't do that in an airplane.
Well,
Well,
listen,
at least in an airplane, you can get up and walk down to the bathroom and stuff like that.
yeah.
You can at least stretch your legs a little
Now, I
bit.
did see a story, and I wish I would have thought it up. It was they just retired for the last time the DC 727. It was an airplane, okay? Now, in the back of this airplane, there were stairs that went down. It was like a car where you could exit the plane from the rear, okay? They had stairs that went down here. So anyway, there was a guy somehow hijacked a plane or he did something with the airplane, and I can't, like I said, I read the story a little bit, but I don't know the details. Robbed everybody on the plane, did something with the plane, and then jumped out of the back. And
You mean like
perished.
DB Cooper?
DB Cooper.
Is that who that was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They never found him.
never found.
Never
him.
did find that
Never did
guy.
find it. Order money.
They'll find his
You
bones.
tell-
They found a few bills here and there, but that was about it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so then I start reading about all these crazy bank robbing stories where people have got away with it. And you know what? I should have brought that up. We'll do that next week, perhaps.
I had no clue that they like still rob banks like pretty regularly. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot, you know.
Yeah.
But they get most of them get caught, like you know.
Well, today they
overwhelming
got
majority get
surveillance
caught.
and they got cameras everywhere.
Here's a question
There's
I
really
wanna know.
clear video
How
cameras.
come that people have such good quality cameras on their houses, but these businesses and banks,
Yeah.
it looks like you're
they're not
trying to watch a
responsible.
damn old Nintendo game or something.
Well, here's the
What is
exactly.
up with the resolution?
Exactly. You know what? If you they just sent pictures back from Mars not too long ago, and I mean it almost makes me think it's fake because it's so nice, it's so
so clear,
perfect. It's so, and then but the great it was a meme, and it said below that picture from Mars,
Yeah.
and then it said picture from bank robbery yesterday, and you can't even see
like
what's
all
going on.
pixelated.
It's like somebody put a thumbprint on that thing, and it's just like
horrible.
it's kind of important to have cameras if you're a bank.
Yeah.
It
You know
does
what I
kind of
mean?
remind me of the meme that I saw about the guy that robbed a Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had a good still picture. I mean, if it wasn't so blocky and grainy and everything else, it would have been a great picture because it showed everything. But the bad part about it is underneath of it had the dude from Family Guy. And he says, well, no, wait, you can't rob Starbucks. Isn't that a gun-free zone?
Gun-free zone.
And the next time you plan on robbing a bank or a convenience store, listen, do yourself a favor, get a mask, but make it a digitized, pixelated mask. So when you're on screen,
Yeah, but then it'll come in clear.
Ooh, good point there. Yeah.
That's why he's a coal miner.
Yeah, coal mining safety engineer. So anyhow, let's talk about some of the things that we don't see anymore. And we were thinking about this too. Like we were talking, Erica went out on her first date today.
You know what? I wish we could get her in here,
Oh.
and so she could talk about.
She
her
wouldn't
first
talk.
date.
I told her I wouldn't. I
Yeah.
said, listen, you come in here and talk with us tonight. She needs some, it's therapy time. This is what we do. Come in here and talk with us. We won't even bring up the fact that you went out on your first date today. We weren't going to bring it up. Well, she's not out here, so deal's off.
Oh, Haley's at
heels
youth. I was
off.
gonna say if Haley wasn't at youth, I'd call her up and talk about her date.
She had a date too? You were with you.
No,
She actually went out on a date?
Date to the movies. Remember? That's why I had
Yeah.
to go to another movie, so I didn't look like a creeper. at
Oh,
this
that,
movie.
and it was because she was on a date.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of scary. So anyway.
I'm just glad my kids are grown.
Yeah, you're kidding, right? So
yeah,
we're,
mine just have babies.
So we were sitting here talking to Erica this morning, and then Michelle and I start talking. We're talking to Erica about life. How life can be and the dangers of life, and then we totally forget about Erica, and we start talking amongst ourselves about things you don't see.
Yeah.
Like back in the day when we were in high school, if you wanted to have a girlfriend, you would ask the girlfriend, but then you'd give them their class ring and they'd roll yarn in it so it would
to
fit
make
their
it
fingers.
fit, yeah.
You don't see stuff like that anymore. You don't see paper footballs very much anymore.
Oh, I loved paper football.
Yeah.
I used to love that.
They actually, you go to the dollar stores, some of them, you can actually buy paper footballs with the
with the
gold
goalposts.
thing.
Yeah.
You can actually buy that. Now,
Yeah.
somebody said, you know what? I can't think of anything. I know what. They don't know what this is. Let's sell paper footballs.
People are like, look at this.
Or like one of those little things where you do this. I can never do that.
Oh,
Where they-
yeah, with the
they
paper.
have
little
different
things.
numbers and the
Yeah,
sayings
whatever that
on
is.
them.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fortune cookie sort of thing.
Yeah,
What's
if
your
you
favorite
remember
color?
the name of that?
REN.
What was
What's your
the
favorite
name of
number?
that?
1, 2,
I have no
3,
idea.
4, 5.
Yeah, if you can remember the name of that, put that in the comments.
Yeah, that's pretty neat
What
too.
were they called? Yeah, they used to be
Friendship-
origami, like an origami type of thing.
Friendship
Yeah,
bracelets.
it had
You don't.
the-
You
it
don't.
had numbers and different
It just like
different sayings on it,
like
you know,
friendship
like
bracelets.
How many kids you'd have? And
You
all
don't
that
really see
junk.
friendship bracelets anymore.
No.
Like the gym bags that were made out of leather, like you'd see in Happy Days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now it's all backpacks.
Yeah.
I didn't have if I had a backpack on my back, I was hiking. I
Meth
wasn't going to
packs.
school.
Meth packs.
Meth packs. Well, you can't carry them. Can you still carry backpacks in the school? Or they got to be clear?
Depends
Gotta be
on the
clear.
school.
No,
depends
not
on the
anymore.
school.
You can't do it anymore?
No,
It
it doesn't
depends.
have to be a clear.
Oh, it doesn't have to be? I know for a while they were on that clear kick.
Yeah.
Clear
Yeah.
backpacks.
Clear.
In
milk.
Alabama, they were.
Yeah.
Everybody had to have clear backpacks.
Got to see inside. Make sure you don't have a weapon. Yeah. Some kind of weapon in the middle school.
But it's like neat little things like that. That I
Right
think
there. Lava lamps.
lava
You
lamps.
don't see
And we
those?
have it up. Steve
Yeah.
said something about Steve. It was either Steve Merritt or Steve Ice had plugged the damn lava lamp in, and it's actually
That's a
plugged
great
in now.
lava lamp.
Yeah, but it's just like certain things like that with
Rotary phones?
Going back to what, but like going back to what the Pope was saying today about being so distant from everybody because of technology. Steve Jobs saying that he's the one that came out with the iPhone, and we're talking about some of the things you just don't do anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like that, you
Well,
don't
that-
see stuff.
That was another meme that I saw on Facebook and everything. It was back when the phones were attached by cords, we were more free.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Actually,
I mean,
true. Yeah.
You know what's funny is like I remember my parents when we got they had the rotary phones and then they had the push button phones. They were the same thing, same plugged in.
Right.
And I rember when they first got the push buttons and mom and dad sat there and like, let's see how fast it is now with 911 and you're like, oh my God, the future is here.
And how about the fact before you had cordless phones, you'd have one of those. You'd have one of those phones, but you'd have one of those extensions between the handset and the actual base of the thing that would go to here, like downtown somewhere. That thing would always wrap up, and you have to hold the thing so it would wind out. It's nuts.
When they come out with the different size cords on there.
Yeah, you'd have a 75-foot cord on that thing.
You'd have either a 1 foot cord or a 6 foot cord that you could stretch out clear across.
Let me tell you
the
something.
side of the house.
Have you ever did that and actually pick the phone up and have that somehow drop it and sling back up and hit you right in the face? I was like, well, how does that even happen? How does that even happen? I've got knocked in the face 1,000 times with a daggone phone.
I think it was about the same time that touch-tone phones came out is when that automated BS started on the any company that you
press
called.
1.
Do you have a touch-tone phone? If so, press 1. If not,
Yeah, that is
please
when it
hang on
came
the
out.
line for
Yeah.
Right,
assistance.
right.
I was
So
like,
then you'd be like, damn, I wish I had a touch-tone phone. I don't want to sit here.
Damn!
We'd always call time and temperature because that was great.
Oh,
Time and
yeah.
temperature. We call time. My sister and
yeah.
we call time and
Time
temperature
is
50 times a day.
Yep.
After we got off of the certain band, because you always had bands. We were like like you have your A band, B band, C band. If you called in that band, you're all right. You call outside of that, and that's long distance because long distance was.
Oh, yeah,
That used to be a thing back
well,
in
and
the
it was
day.
different too, because I remember
What about
like,
party lines? Sorry,
Yeah,
Jim.
I remember we
party
couldn't
lines.
call my grandma because it was long distance, but we would ring her once, and then she would call us back because it wasn't long distance for her.
Yeah, we would do like you would do before caller ID. We did the same stuff in Morgantown because you never knew. You wouldn't know who was going to be on the phone if you just didn't want to pick up the phone all the time. So if it was say like my grandma Rogan or Uncle Terry, something like that, they'd ring twice, hang up, ring back once, hang up, and boom. Then we know. It's like, all right, that's the Rogan
too
house in
funny.
Morgantown. Well, it's stuff
that's
like
good
that.
stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
Flobies.
Flobies, that's what I mean. Bedazzlers.
Okay.
A lot of people don't remember Flowbee for some reason.
That was like a haircut thing that had a.
It was like a vacuum.
That had a vacuum.
Yeah,
you
just
a vacuum.
Yeah, and it would just give you the perfect haircut.
Listen, let me tell you what I did my senior year of high school. My dad had this comb, right? Like, think of a half moon, okay? And it had teeth on this end. The straight. But right in the, like just down from the end of the teeth was like a razor blade. So what you did is the concept was you combed it through your hair, and that razor blade would kind of
thin it out.
Yeah, it yanked all the hairs out.
Well, this is what I did. This is what I did. You know, I'm a senior in high school, and so I took that comb and I set it right on my forehead. And I just pressed down and I ran that thing straight back my head, and it took all the hair right off the front of my head. I had no hair up there, no bangs. I had no bangs.
No bangs.
I told my dad, I said, I ain't going to school. He said, oh yeah,
Todd,
you're going to school.
listen,
buddy.
I'm
Just preparing yourself for what it's going to look like now.
You can't fix it. You can't fix it, Jim.
Listen,
No,
I'm going to leave this to your discretion, but Todd and I have been friends for years, and we used to talk on the phone 7 or 8 hours a day. So
every
we know stories,
day.
crazy stories. But I have two that are my favorites. Two stories. The one time where you caught the house on fire.
I did that with a bottle rocket.
And the second, one, which might be my even better, because I could just imagine your dad. The one where you about killed your dad with a shotgun.
So I always kept a shotgun in the closet, right? Yeah. It was always loaded. I was dumb, right? Why he let me do it, I don't know. Maybe he didn't know. So my buddy was over at the house, Alan.
I'm betting that was it.
He was sitting, he was sitting on, for
great.
some reason, he got that shotgun out, and he was sitting on the end of my bed, and he was just holding it. We were just in there bullshitting, whatever we were doing. And my dad, on the other side of the wall, was the living room. He was just sitting there watching TV, minding his own business, drinking his sweet tea, smoking his cigarettes. And he's sitting there, Alan's sitting on the bed with that shotgun, and we're talking, and he pulls the trigger. Boom! Shoots a hole through my closet, through the living room wall, through the living room, out the exterior wall, and there's insulation flying everywhere.
Oh my God!
Listen, if it would have been down 2 or 3 feet, he'd have shot my dad would be dead.
Listen, but wait till Todd describes it. He goes, and I looked through that hole. I looked through the hole, and there's Dad with a hole right beside the insulation still flying.
Yeah, insulation's all in. Drywall dust, and he
frozen with a cigarette.
Yeah, but you know what? Listen, God bless him. And he just gets up just as calm as can be and walks in there. He takes the shotgun. But he didn't. It was amazing because I think it's because he was in shock. He thought he was having some Vietnam flashbacks.
Could you imagine?
But you know what? Listen, I took the blame for that. I wish he was listening right now because he still doesn't believe me. I took the blame for that.
I can imagine.
I didn't want my buddy get in trouble.
I mean, I could just see to have that gun go off,
Boom!
and then Todd like
But you know what?
the hole right here goes.
But you know what? If I know the old, if I know the old man, yeah, he still had that glass of tea in his hand and that freaking Marlboro Red right here, never moved.
Oh, dude,
He
that's
just
funny
probably
stuff.
praying.
Just saying, like stuff like that doesn't happen anymore. There's everybody's so conscious, so crazy.
But why
about
I had
it.
a loaded shotgun in that house, I have no idea.
Oh, that's funny. Just like Big Wheels. Remember Big Wheels?
Oh my God! Yeah.
And we would fly down the street, and for some
yeah.
reason we would all make these weird jumps. And
Oh,
we'd
yeah.
fly off them, land, get all skinned up, and now they're like,
Oh, you gotta wear a helmet and
Yeah.
don't go down there.
Yeah,
and put your hands
or the
on.
big wheels.
The
with
big wheel
let me
with the
think.
handbrake, man.
Okay, but
yeah,
yeah.
handbrake in the lunchbox.
But listen, if you didn't have a handbrake, there was a flat spot on your wheel.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Where you don't
Yep.
hit the
You'd
brake.
hold the brake. Yeah, you'd hold the pedals and.
Hey, I tell you, I know.
Bead
I
curtains,
went
that's a
through,
good
I
one,
went
Randy.
through 10 of them things.
Yeah, it was great.
And one of the ones was, that front big wheel?
Yeah.
When you lock up your legs and you scoot the flat spot on there, it wouldn't be a week. I'd be going down the road. Yeah, because it wouldn't be round anymore.
What'd they call that one? Was it a green machine?
The
Yeah.
green machine.
green
yeah.
machine.
That's the one that is that the one that
Yeah, the
twisted?
one that twisted, yeah, like the back end
you
turn, not
slide,
the front.
Yeah, you go.
You know, another
Green
little thing
machine.
I don't see a lot of anymore, like little pools. I mean, I see people that have pools, but we had this like little blow up pool.
Yeah.
And then
You
you'd
mean
get
the
all
little plastic ones?
like the little-
yeah,
well,
they were
kinda
great
rubber-
for like
yeah.
your animals too.
Yeah, well,
Your
I actually-
dogs.
I actually
Yeah,
have two of those, the hard plastic pools.
Yeah.
I actually have two of those for my goats and chickens.
Do you?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we need to bring a couple down here and have a bikini contest or something. Myself.
Yeah.
Hey, my mom's on here. She put like a...
Oh, listen to this. So those little pools, that reminded me of a story. My dad had a full-size pickup when we were little, and one time, I don't know why, but we thought we were cool. and we
green machine.
We put that little pole in the back of his pickup and filled it up with water, and we all sat back there while he like drove the Giant Eagle. And we went to the store and we're all in the back like, hey, this little pole
in the back of the truck.
Yeah, you get so busted for that now.
Back in the 70s, man, you didn't put seatbelts on. You sat in the back seat with your brother and you played on the floor.
No doubt. Let me tell you something. We was probably, let's see, there was me, my cousin Steven, and Aaron, and my Aunt Ann was driving the car. We were coming through Shinston. And right there, right as soon as you come past, which is where you turn, that turn that's by the trestle now on the rail trail.
Yeah.
We were coming around there, and me and Steven were in the back, and we were wrestling around like crazy. I mean, and we're talking like a big freaking Chevy Impala, man. And, you know, this big brown boat. The door's way heavier, way more than some of the cars now.
Oh, yeah.
But we come around that corner, that door flew open, and he went out the car.
He went out the car door?
Yeah. He went out the car and slid right there underneath, up against the wall where the trestle's at. And I said, hey, Stephen fell out, Stephen.
Stinking funny.
You know what? She stopped the car, turned around, went, put it back in the car, and we took off.
That was it?
Yeah.
You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. All right, get back in the car.
My dad used to have one of them big cars, and we would lay up in the back window, and we'd be like, hit the brake, Dad! And he'd be like, hit the back seat.
Yeah.
But that's when they made cars, man. I remember my mom had a big Ford LTD. Yeah. And that thing was about as long as this building.
Man.
It was huge. And they had the high beam, low beam on the floor. That little button.
Yeah.
What was the story with Sandy? Because she saw where she must not know the story about the shotgun.
I don't think she's ever heard that story.
What was the story about the gasoline in the garage or something like that?
Gasoline in the garage.
Yeah, it caught fire or something, like you were huffing gasoline or it was huffing paint or something.
That explains a lot.
No, we lived over in Gore. We lived over in Gore when she was married to Mike, and I used to, and it was like the house was here, but there was like a garage apartment over here. And I would go in the garage, and it was like big old metal cans of gasoline, and I'd take my little Matchbox cars and I'd dip them down that gas, and then I would light them and I'd push them across the floor because it was cool, right?
Like they were on fire.
Like they were on fire. And I was using the paper matches, come in a little book, and you light, and then somebody either pulled in the driveway or came out of the house or whatever it was, and I had that match lit in my hand, and somebody was coming, so I took that match and I threw it over like this. I threw it, and that match flew through the air. It's like that.
Stayed lit,
went right down in that hole in that gasoline can. I don't know how it didn't blow up, but it didn't blow up. But the fire came up out of that hole. There was like an old piece of carpet or something like that, and I threw over it. And of course, as soon as I did, and it put it out.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God! I could have never threw that match. And you
could have never stayed lit.
By the time they go out,
you can't stay lit.
Yeah.
No.
Boom. Yeah, any other time you'd have a hell of a time trying to keep that sucker lit for time.
We don't do it. Like, kids can't do any of that stuff anymore. I remember, like, I'd have my G.I. Joes.
If I caught my
Star
kids
Wars.
doing half the shit that I did,
I
I'd
know.
be
Oh, my
there.
God.
I
me
used
too.
to blow them up with firecrackers, because like I would blow Luke's hand off or
Yeah.
burn it off with fire and be
Yeah.
like, oh, it's when his hand got cut off.
I think my mom
I'll tell you one of the
she
things
heard
we
that
used-
story for the first time too. She really needs to log off. I think my mother needs to log
What
off.
about the time? I don't know. You guys remember the BB guns, right?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Crossman 760s. When they first come out, when you could pump them.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, me and Jay Ballot and Tony Ballot and Mike Butcher, we'd all be running around up on the hill up there, and and of course playing the politically incorrect Cowboys and Indians or cops and robbers
Oh
nowadays.
yeah, you can't play that no
But
more.
we'd be playing with real BB guns, shooting each other. We'd be wearing like the swimming goggles.
Yeah.
So to try to protect your eyes. But man, we'd have welts all over
Guarantee
us,
it.
man.
Guarantee
we
it.
used to listen.
Then
We
we
used
had to come out with a rule: you can only pump it up 5 times.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, or you don't want to go.
Yeah, you just try it anyway.
We used to take the old aluminum metal trash cans, and we would take the lids and have like walnut fights. But of course, the metal lid was your shield.
Yeah.
So you got to block the. But then you throw a little walnut like
that
that at some
hurt,
kid hit you in the head. You're going,
Brucey,
ping, 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 ping.
give me something. What's something that you like growing up or you miss
Growing
or
up,
something's
growing up,
completely
well,
different now?
You guys
Fight with
probably
real
say,
swords.
well, since I'm in the mail business,
Yeah.
Telegram.
Telegram. Tell me about it.
Well, nowadays it's
Just mailed each other's letters.
No, it's just like you call the phone company.
Yeah.
They type up the letter. That letter goes to the express mail to the person you're trying to send it to. It's just like a email back then.
Yeah. Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. That's kind of now. How was TV? Like, did you have like we had cable. Or well, actually, it wasn't for a long time. We didn't have cable. It was all over the air antennas.
Yeah, it was just air. Yeah.
So, like, when you're like, what would it be like in Japan? Did everybody have TVs? Did you use a lot of TV?
Well,
or
the TV was it depends on if you could afford a TV back then.
Yeah.
Then it become a CD player, cassette tape, VCR,
Right.
Then DVD, air conditions, and all that stuff.
Because like we had the luxury of having a lot of room to play. I mean, we were in a rural area anyway.
Yeah.
And Bruce is growing up in the suburbs of 500,000.
Well, but the thing is, when I was growing up, the way I grew up was nothing but a rice field on the farm.
Right.
But now it's all gone.
It's all
over
now.
developed
It's all
land.
developed
It's
now.
houses
Yeah.
don't build it. So
I know.
What's so different is that I don't see a dirt.
Yeah,
I don't see enough dirt.
Now, how did that work? I mean, when it comes to the rice fields like that, so you could look outside and you saw these rice fields, which would be like wheat fields for us, I guess. But they're just like canals of water, right? And that's how they grow the rice in it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's muddy, watery.
Yeah. And you had these big long fields, and they would go and get the rice out, pick the rice out.
Yeah,
that's. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna say, hey, did you guys have sword fights with real swords? And it made me think back to when I was younger.
Yeah.
And we used to we'd take the neighbors' brooms and stuff. Oh, yeah. And we'd break the bottoms off, and we'd sand them down so they look like a sword. We'd spray paint them like silver, and then put like the little guards on them, and use tape and stuff, and make them look pretty real, And we'd
Beat the crap out of each other.
hitting each other.
Now, was that big? I mean, would that be a big thing in Japan growing up? Did you kind of emulate samurai and ninja and stuff like that?
We do
beat
that.
the hell out of each other because we do army guys.
Well, the thing is, we don't pretend. We actually go at it.
Show you my scars.
Yeah.
Well, that's like just like your teacher. He'd beat the hell out of you in school, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, that was the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, like during a recess when I was in grade school, they call it the monkey bar. I think.
Yeah, the monkey bars.
Yeah, we the one team is on the one end, other team is the other end. When you meet, okay, your purpose is to bring the other opponents down to the ground. You kick it, punch it.
Get them off that monkey
Yeah,
bars.
you drop kick them. Yeah, the person squeeze it with both legs and then drop them down.
So you're like 9 years old out in the playground.
Yeah,
and
we
the
were
teachers
like
are sitting there walking with a rice cigarette hanging out of their hand.
Yeah, we were like
and you're watching them beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah, we are physically going at it, but it was just for fun.
Yeah.
Right.
You
That's
know,
kinda neat.
one thing that people don't do now, or kids don't do nowadays that I've noticed too, is riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? But
How many times when we were kids that we'd leave? I mean, I know I did. I'd leave in the morning time.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
never
not
come
come
back.
back off to my buddies.
Yeah.
And if
Street
I
lights.
had to be home before the street light come on.
Yep.
I screwed that up a bunch of times.
But we would just ride bike. We did the 4 or 5, it's like a little gang, and just
I'll tell
ride
you,
and
one
ride.
of the times that when I was riding a bike, I used, I had some friends out Owings or something,
His
but
mic cut off. There you
me and my one of my buddies, we got on our bikes that morning,
Mhm.
rode our bicycle to Philippi
Oh my
and
god.
back. I think I was like 35 before Mom ever found out about that.
Yeah, right.
And now,
Yeah.
if, just to say, Philippi's what, 30 miles away?
Yeah.
Something
But
like that.
but let me ask you this, because now is the world a more? Because I would think the reason this doesn't happen more now is you just can't.
Technology, dude.
Well,
With the bikes and
maybe,
stuff?
but maybe, but at the same time, you hear so many stories about so many wackos that you're almost afraid to let your kids go out after dark. Like you just don't say, okay, go after dark and come back at midnight or
not
whatever.
even
it might be.
after dark, dude. Not
think
even
it's
after
that
dark.
serious.
I would
When
not let
the
my
street
kid.
lights came on, your ass was in the house.
No, absolutely. But today, I would
Yeah,
not let my
today-
kid
Oh yeah, yeah.
get on that bike and just ride.
Yeah.
I would
You're
never,
definitely
never,
right.
never,
Yeah.
never do that.
But
I think two things: that one and technology.
right.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this question though: Is it by chance that the world is a more dangerous place, or is it because of social media that we know about it? So that way,
Could be. Yeah.
say if
You're kind of dumb to it.
like all the crazy stuff that's happening now happened then. We just didn't know about it because now everybody talks
that
about it.
and because then you also didn't have weirdos that get their ideas from the internet and technology.
Copycatters,
Copycatters.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff.
I think that's what most of the problem is. You got where we hear about it more often is only because these other people are seeing what's happening around the nation, and they're thinking, okay, well, they find out this dude, he got somewhat of a light sentence and everything because he claimed to have some kind of mental disorder or some crap.
Yeah.
Well, I can do the same damn thing, man. I can go out and kill 15 people and say I've got a mental disease.
Or they think they see. But do you think people will actually get at some point? I mean, it's such a part of our lives now. Do you think there's going to be a point to where people just unplug because it really does a disservice? Because like you said, I never really thought about. You get ideas, just like watching these movies. When we're watching, movies from the 70s or 80s, a horror movie then is not a horror movie now. You actually see people's heads explode and get cut off.
It's a shock factor nowadays.
Right, and it's not even that shocking now because I was talking to Mia about it, and she's like, it's no big deal. I was like, what are you talking about? It's not a big deal.
Well, how many people follow Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
I do.
How many heads have you seen cut off in that damn movie?
Yeah.
Set on a spike.
I mean, I can remember when I was a kid, and I'm talking, probably 76 or so, 1976. One of the biggest, scariest things on TV was either Night Gallery.
Night Gallery, I love that.
Or the Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone.
Those are not violent at all.
Speaking of that,
but it scared the hell out.
But you have like A-Team and even like a lot of movies. You didn't actually see. You assumed that they got killed. They were killed with the gun, but you never really saw anybody die.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even when they had explosions and cars would go flying over the thing and the car would explode and they'd crawl out at the end. You never really saw people. Now the bigger the better. When it comes to that.
You see all kind of blood and guts now.
So as a disservice, say like it's our generation, and since our generation, it's got progressively worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as the shock factor goes. Be it with music, whatever it might be, right? Yeah. Social media, you get all this stuff. This channel, you can make all this kind of junk. Who is going to suffer? Which I would love to know the history of how it's going to work out. Yeah. Because it doesn't implode where people say, "I've had enough of this stuff." After they get so scared that they live it, or is it
almost like the burning books days,
or or that they stay in their little cocoons because they see all this other stuff, and then people try to outdo everybody else, or maybe perhaps. And then you get so scared that you want to go outside. Just like with this political shit right now. I mean, it's just like, when did everybody become political science majors?
See, that's what I was
Social
thinking
media.
Too, about the full circle thing. And for example, and I know this has been played to death, but that song, Honey, It's Cold Outside, or whatever the name
Baby,
It's Cold Outside.
Yeah.
They're thinking that was like sexist and, just crazy. But yet you hear some of the rap junk out there. And not just rap, but I mean that's one of the major offenders, of degrading women,
the sexual use of
that.
It's about the sexual use of a woman.
Now they're going back and saying that Baby It's Cold Outside is bad. So is that the full circle? Is that what's going to happen?
I don't know.
That we're going to go back
I think society is so sensitive about everything. I heard a story the other day, and I don't know how true this is. There's a guy out in California, I guess there's a John Wayne International Airport or some bullshit like that. They want to change the name of that airport because they found out that John Wayne, made some comments, or back in the 50s, how they.
John Wayne was an open book. You asked him a question, he gave you his answer.
But there's some group of people out there who
like
are
the
saying,
answer he gave.
Yeah, there's some group going, oh no, he was this or he was that, so we got to change the name of this.
But that's stupid because that's your right to your opinion and what you.
And at that particular time,
but you know what? It doesn't matter.
At any time, like right now.
No, absolutely. I agree.
Well, what I'm saying is, what's saying that what we're saying right now in 20 years isn't going to looked upon as being, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, we're in a time we're living in, we're actually pretty good guys.
Well, you look at these things called freedom of speech, freedom of religion. When and we're seeing the points now that it's not just freedom of religion, it's freedom from religion. And freedom from speech, because everybody is so freaking anal about being offended.
But you know what?
You got to change names. You got to pull down statues. What in the world is going on?
And I'll tell you something else. Brian Bland, he brought up a comment about the communities have changed. Things have just changed. And really, if you think about it, another factor is when you see something, and I could go on Facebook right now or YouTube and find these things. You see somebody getting their ass beat and just getting knocked silly, or somebody robbing a house and all this crazy stuff. You should never see that video because the person that's filming it should be doing something to stop it. Right.
Or calling something instead, they're just filming it.
So
oh my God.
So now it's like, are they filming it because they just don't, nowadays it's more like, I'm just going to mind my business. If it's not my problem, I don't care about it. I'm not a superhero.
But I'm going to mind my own business, but I'm really catching what's going on.
Yeah,
That's the whole.
Yeah.
Like
well, I mean, you keep yourself out of lawsuits and all that. You know, all this stuff now. Everybody, if you go hit somebody, you know, next thing you know, you're going to get sued.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, where does the
See, I can't mind my own business.
get out of here? Come on, no, you're shitting
Now,
me.
I'll give you an example. When I was married to my first wife, we lived out on this on the corner of this one street where it just seemed like all of a sudden it takes full rotation where it goes for a while and there's hardly no kids in the neighborhood, and then all of a sudden, bam, a bunch of kids, teenage kids, are going to hang out, and for some reason, it was right here beside a friggin' graveyard at the corner intersection beside where I lived. Well, it happened to be a really big fight. It was like 5 or 6 kids was jumping on one kid, and I was like, you know what? I can't have it. You know, I know none of them was my kids because hell, mine was pups at that time. I took my pistol, took the rounds out of it and everything else, but I had a laser sight on it. Mm-hmm. All I did was step outside and turn that laser sight on. It's like cockroaches when you turn the lights on. They went every direction.
You're lucky you're not in jail right now.
Yeah.
That was back then. That was back
he
then.
pulled out a gun and he was pointing us with that laser rifle. Oh my god!
Yeah, nowadays they'd be like, "Oh my god, if you're
Well, I'm going to say this was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, 15, 14 years ago and everything. But yeah, I mean, I can't sit idly by and see someone being disrespected or, being abused.
Well, I don't care
or
where
bullied,
you're at. I don't care where you're at. Multiples on one is bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
But the more
One on
the-
one, two on two,
But-
whatever.
yeah.
Have at it.
But the moral of the story is things have changed. You know what I mean? Things have
real
changed.
quick,
And-
I wanted to go back. I wanted to tell you, like, when we were talking about what you said, as a technology and weirdos out there and stuff. And one reason why I say technology is because I remember, we grew up right down beside my house. We had this ball field, and right next to the ball field was this little area of woods that we had jumps and things for our bikes, and everybody played there, right? And the paths were so worn in, from us going. And I remember taking my kids there when they got a little older. It was probably a few years ago. And I was like, God, you guys got to see this. This is where I used to play all the time. And we went there, and it was all grown over. Like, no one rode
Couldn't
bikes
even tell
there
anybody was
forever.
there.
Yeah, you
Weird.
couldn't even tell. And I was like, wow, it's sad. That means kids don't even ride their bikes while they're playing baseball anymore. Because that's what we'd do. We'd ride around the field and stuff like
But
that.
see, you know what I mean?
While the two teams were on the
there's-
field, you'd be, whoever's not playing. would be,
But that's
you know,
something to think about because Steve Jobs said, and technology is one part. And then, a lot of it stems from, technology. Then you started getting into these apps, which opens up a lot of new things. And then all of a sudden you have fake news or this or fake news. You have the influences and all this other kind of garbage going on. But then you also have the desensitizing thing, depending on what the political climate is or if you're going to get sued, if you're not going to get sued. Too many times you're just like, okay, I'm just not going to even get involved unless you're Chad. He's going to go beat the hell out of somebody with a laser sight, maybe pick them up like dogs. But you can see where the entire thing that they're talking about, the overall aspect of things, is everybody's becoming too desensitized and just they don't care about it. So when you have these issues come up, be it with a mass murder or whatever, you're like, hey, it wasn't me, so I really don't care. The sensitivity to things, because no one's connected to anybody anymore. You could see somebody in a store, 20 years ago, and you would, if there was something wrong, even picking something off the shelf, you'd go help them.
Right.
Now I'm just like, get the hell out of my way. I got things to do, man. I do get stuff for them.
Of course you do.
No, I actually do.
So we're all turning into
All right,
introverts.
let me ask you
now,
this.
here,
Yeah, I
before
mean
you get started-
that's what Steve Jobs in the Pope's saying.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Or
before you
said.
get started, I just had one of these exact same incidents the other day. I went to Tractor Supply. Okay, Tractor Supply. This old guy. He was old. He come out there. He had a buggy or one of them flat carts that had like 8 pounds or 8 bags of dog food or whatever on there, and he pulled up to his truck. I was just getting out of mine. He dropped his tailgate, and I was like, "Sir, you want me to help you load that stuff in there?" I said, "I can load it for you." He looked at me like I had 3 heads.
What?
Yeah, like
come on.
Because I guess nowadays, that's like really out of the norm, man. Is
Well,
asking somebody to help them.
And you know what? That's good because that's the kind of person you are, and that's how we should all really be. If
Well,
I see somebody, and I know you guys, I know everybody in here would do that. If you see somebody that needs help, you know what? You stop and help.
But that's But the thing is, our generation is going to be the last to know that.
Yeah.
See what I mean? As it goes on,
because of
because
desensitization,
I see teenage boys now walking into the mall, and I asked Erica this today on our date. I said, "Were you the first one through the door, or was he? Did he?
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
made an attempt to open every door for. He was very polite. And I was like,
Walking
you know
down
what?
the
That's
sidewalk,
good.
I constantly tell mine.
When
you
you're walking
open
down the
that door.
sidewalk, is she on the side by the cars, or,
Yeah,
or is the guy?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's certain things like
Right.
that, and you don't really. I see them at ball games now, and it's just like they have no class. And I'm thinking, why don't they know this? Is it not being taught? And because we know this, so why isn't that being passed on somehow?
Well, and it's funny. Well, Carol just actually put on here, kids aren't raised that way anymore. Those of us that grew up basically with this being drilled in our heads, we've passed it on, but maybe we weren't as firm with it as what our parents were. But it's funny because when Carol and I first started dating, it drove her nuts. I would be like one step back and to the left or to the right, depending on which way traffic was. It irritated the crap out of her.
And with her being so independent, it probably, I guarantee it drove her nuts.
Oh, it drove her batshit crazy.
I bet it did.
But I still have a problem with it now. We've been dating for 2 years, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, sometimes I actually have to force myself and struggle not to. I've gotten away from opening the doors because
I still do that every time.
I do too.
still
I do too.
And if my wife gets that door for me,
Me too.
she'll
I'll
stop
let her
because she
know about
knows-
it too.
Yeah, she'll
Oh yeah, I was like, hey.
Yep.
You won't know. You don't believe how many times that I've been we've been into it, like going into a restaurant, and she'll be in front of me, and I say, "Don't touch that door."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My
Just
wife
like
will
that.
tell you, too.
And other people will look
No,
at me
no, no.
like, "What in the hell?" You know?
Yeah.
Well,
But sorry,
and
Chad.
it's one of those. I don't open the door for Carol at the car anymore, but I do try to get to like the restaurant door first and open it up, let her go through whatever.
Store
Or if
doors
she
or
happens to
something
get there before me, I try not to let it bother me so much. But she's still the first one to walk in that door because when she opens it up, I grab a hold of it from behind where she's
let her
standing
walk in.
and let her walk through. You know,
Plus, she
That's-
walks a lot faster. Than
Well,
you.
and I told Erica
well,
today.
she don't have as much weight to carry around as I do.
Boom. Slow
Well,
down, Carol.
Like I told Erica today because she said, "Well, I noticed that about how you with mom," and I said, "Well, there's a reason why I do, especially at restaurants and public places." I said, "I'll open that
just wanna
door."
look at her butt.
Well, that too. But she'll walk in, and if there's any shots being fired, then I'm just going to slam the door and get the hell out of it. If I open the door, there's a bear right there that I don't see, like some kind of grizzly bear. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
As long as you're faster than the slowest person.
That's right. But that's just the entire process of things. Phone's going crazy.
Bling
I
bling.
know,
That's
it's like-
not
it's
the
like
wife,
thinking-
is it, right?
No. She instant messaged me there. She's on her way home.
Everything all right? Everything good?
Yeah,
Hall
I'll
family?
find out. I'll find out the details shortly. But there was a point I was going to bring up there, and it's out of my brain now.
About common courtesy. Teach your
Yeah.
kids how to be good
Well,
human
just-
beings.
Well, no,
Decent, calm.
Decent.
Well,
Yeah.
saying a word is the one
is
thing,
it?
but you have to be a living example, actually showing the kids how it needs to be done.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just telling the wife we were talking about going down memory lane. I was in high school and Dad sent me to town for something to feed store or something. I don't know how. But anyhow, and I was driving out and there was this little old lady. She was like a grandma, like your grandma, and she was out there with a flat tire, and she was just standing there because she don't know how to change a flat tire, and if she does, she's and people
she
were
ain't
just
physically strong enough.
Yeah, people were just buzzing past her. Nobody would stop to help this little old. It was obvious her tire was flat, so I pulled over and I changed the tire for her. Why did I have to do it?
Let me.
I didn't mind, but my point is, was I the first one to stop when all these people were just?
Well, now
driving
listen.
by?
We
How
are.
long has
It's
she
a
been
sad
sitting there?
truth.
How long had she
But
been
we are
standing there?
we are in the presence of perfection. And I say that nicely because you are a very pure soul. And the reason I say that is Todd has a thing about picking up hitchhikers. And not for sex. He does it because he thinks they're going to be Jesus. And he doesn't want to. How about the family of 16?
Oh, yeah.
He's thought there was a family of 16 or something. He loads them all up in the Oldsmobile and takes them home.
Yep, I've done that lots of times.
Listen, I'll be like, sorry about your luck. Too bad there's not a mud pit right there.
WWJD.
Or here's another one.
You know, that happened back then a lot, though. People would
Me
pick
and the
up
wife-
people, help
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Now it's easier for someone to pull over and say, "Hey, I could call somebody on the cell phone," and no one
Right.
does anything.
Yeah,
Nothing.
another thing
No.
is when you help the people, like changing the tire,
Yeah.
you know what they say? How much do I owe you?
Yeah, I was like, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, well,
the
here-
hitchhiker
But
thing.
you know what?
Well-
This is what I usually say. do you me a favor? I said, when you see somebody in need, the
Help
next
them.
time you pass that on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay it forward. Yeah. There we go.
Jinx.
Which it kind of brings up a point going back to do things happen more now than they did? Maybe we know about it more. But here's the thing that I don't understand is that there's so many with technology now. Going to this is that you always have a communication somehow. First time I ever saw homeless people in New York City was a couple months ago. Not the first time I ever seen homeless people, but the first time I ever seen homeless people living on the sidewalk, curled up in boxes and stuff, and they were watching Netflix on their cell phone. I'm thinking, now listen,
seriously,
swear to God, and I'm thinking, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah.
That's why I don't believe half the shit that I see because of stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Well,
but going back to with the crime thing, it's like, how does somebody come? And I know it happens. But how does, like, abductions and things, because you have GPS, and I know teenagers are always like this. They're always like this with their phones. So it's just a button away to hit or a GPS signal. So how do people become lost, and how do bad things happen to people when they constantly have that phone on?
Exactly.
They
Constantly like that.
Well, how can a kid not answer the damn phone when you call?
Well, that's a good point, too. Anyway, Darren, you've been trying.
Well,
and it will shut the show down.
Let me get back to the hitchhiker thing. Now, this is one thing that I've actually taught my youngest son. I said, when you're driving by and you see somebody out there, your conscience is something's going to eat at you to either pick them people up or just move on by them. And you got that gut feeling, that sixth sense, And I said, listen, you do what you got to do. I know, you want to be nice, you want to try to help people, but you got to be careful about people, either trying to kill you,
take advantage
of you.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I picked a person up, and I was going to give them a ride, and then they said, "Well, hey man, you gave me a ride. Can I get $3? You know what? Get the hell out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop right there and I'll tell them to get the hell out of the truck."
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the thing of what I was teaching my son was, and I said, when you have that feeling, if something is telling you to help these people out, then number one, make sure you are armed. I said, and I said, watch this. I said, when I go back there and pick this person up, I said, I want you to get in the back and let them be up in the front of the truck. So we turned around, we went back, and I said, because something's just telling me to help this person, and I explained this to him. And so we went, and he got out of the truck and got in the back, and this guy got up front. But I had my pistol where I could get access to it quickly, like between my legs. You know what I mean? That I can ride with my hand in my, in my lap or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That if something happened, I just pull it out and have, go to town. So, don't even.
Keep going, man. Keep
Don't
going.
even.
Keep going.
But it's a terminal disease, I know.
Yeah,
but anyway,
so
I took him up, dropped him
Right.
off at his destination and everything, and that's what I told my son. You got to be careful that if you're going to do something like that, always protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll know that either something's going to be eating at you to pick them people up, or just let them roll, man.
Mm-hmm.
You remember back in the day when you didn't really have to think about it quite as much?
Yeah.
That's the part that all this social media and everything else has kind of gotten us to the holy crap, what do I do? And it really has to, like Darren says, really eat at you before you even consider stopping.
Yeah.
Well, and you have to be, here's the thing, is if you're going to do stuff like this, if you're going to be that nice guy that picks strangers up or stops, on the side of the road and hope that they're not that, that's not a whole game in its own, or you never know, that you have to, when you do get burned, not to let that affect you and just keep being nice, and just not to get that bias after a while. Yeah. If not, because I think that's what we see somebody else get burned, and I'm like, whoo, I'm glad I didn't do what that guy did because he's dead now, and I'm never going to help anybody.
Yeah.
I'm never going to help anybody because I'm not going to die. So, you can see where it can be biased. Anyway, that was a heck of a conversation.
Always someone that ruins it.
Yeah, on a downer. You make
To show you how time flies, we're at 1 hour and 25.
Yeah. Wow. 1 hour and 25.
Yeah.
Man. Anyhow,
I think it's time to shut this show down.
we're going to shut this show down. Shut it all down.
Shut it down.
Shut it all down. Make sure once again tomorrow be looking for the audio part. Audio part is my personal favorite because you can listen to it whenever you want. You put it on your iPhone, you listen on the computer. You'll see the links up here. But just if you think about it, hit a like on the Rogan Radio page that you're liking now. Leave a comment or something like that.
Yeah, if you go on iTunes, leave a positive
a review.
5-star. 5-star.
Even a review on the podcast page here, the Rogan Radio thing on Facebook would be fantastic.
Can you read a couple of those real quick?
No. And then
He never lets us have any fun.
But
Never-
listen,
never-
you
never
go
lets us
ahead
read 'em.
and like say once again on your iPhone, if you want to listen to the audio stuff, which I prefer, it's much better because you get a whole different understanding of the podcast.
I've always
it's
said
much
that.
better.
Yeah,
It's
I
much
do.
better.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
I do like that.
But just go ahead, look for a podcast little app thing. You'll see it. You'll hit that little like pink little red button, and you go ahead and hit that thing. Type in Rogan Radio. You see the little light bulb thing. Just subscribe it, and boom, right there. And then on Google Play, do the same thing. Type in Rogan Radio. Do it that way if you have an Android phone, or if you have Stitcher or whatever.
Hey Chuck, did you hear about the blonde who had 2 chances to get pregnant?
No.
She blew them both.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Chad Puccio from
Turn off the lights.
from Mononga, we have down there on the director's seat Darren Harbin, straight from Tokyo, Japan. Bruce Takahashi, straight from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of the Super Bowl. Oh, I was going to say something about the Steelers, but it's going to be the Patriots this weekend, along with Punxsutawney Phil on Saturday.
So
far, early
anything for that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think
we
so.
should have our own Punxsutawney.
You're not even going to be nothing because you're going to be with Vicky this weekend.
Yeah,
So are we
my
going to do
granddaughter-
it next week? Can't do a podcast. The Super Bowl's on unless we're doing
Oh,
it.
that's
Unless
my
we're doing
wife's
it.
birthday.
Unless
too.
we're
That's what
gonna
we
do
talked
it-
about before.
unless we're going to do it inside.
Yeah, we'll have to see because I don't know what's going on. We have some issues right now going on. We don't have cable.
All right.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
We'll let you know.
right.
Or we might have a live party. Who knows? And over from wherever, from the garage burning session to the shotgun through the wall. Best friend the guy could have, the Chewbacca of the show, ladies and gentlemen. It's Captain Earl Beck. Until next week, you have been listening to Rogan Radio.
Later. See ya.